Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Hey guys, we got another really beautiful day. I've been staying in this crazy mansion here near Vancouver, and we thought this would be a cool place to just do a little talk about the new 2019 VoltBike Enduro. I did review this a couple years back, and a lot has changed. Like at first glance, it looks very similar. It's using the same Bafang max drive, one of my favorite mid drives for like a price point e-bike, and it's actually pretty high quality here. It's the M400. 350 watt nominal 80 newton meters of torque, and then this battery here, 48 volt 14.5 amp hours, so it's a little bit higher capacity than before, adding a little bit of weight. So this is like 59.5 pounds, whereas before I think I weighted at like 53 or 54 pounds. There's a little bit more weight because of the battery, the same motor, but check out these awesome tires. These are the Maxxis Minion DHR2 27.5 by 2.3. So they're not quite plus size, but you're definitely getting more air volume, a really nice tread pattern right here. And then they've got this exo protection. They are tubeless ready, so you could drop some weight right there if you wanted to. They don't come set up as tubeless. It's just an option that you can do. That's something that allows you to run at lower tire pressure. I think the default range on these is 35 to 60 PSI, which is pretty decent. But the lower tire pressure, you get a little bit more drag, a little bit more comfort and more traction depending on the surfaces you're riding along on. And there's higher chance for like pinch flats with the tube. So yeah, tubeless is kind of a cool thing to see on a sub $2,000 bike. This is $19.99 in USD, and then I think $14.99 in Canadian. We are in Canada filming this. And earlier I had said $14.99, but it's $24.99 Canadian just because of the conversion and everything. And if you buy this from VoltBike and you live nearby, you can come and pick it up and save on shipping. Otherwise, it's about $50 to have it shipped, depending on where you live. This is my personal favorite. I love full suspension. It's just really comfortable, and you can kind of do anything with this bike. So SR Suntour XCM 3030 is talking about these 30 millimeter stanchions. So they're slightly thicker. This is a spring fork, so it's not quite as lightweight as maybe like an air fork or something if you did a little bit of an upgrade yourself. We do have this like lockout, kind of a compression slider, and then we've got preload adjust on the left. So if you weigh a little bit more, you can preload that spring so you aren't going to get the bob or quite as much dive when you brake. Coming back to a potential upgrade here, this is a tapered head tube, so 1.125 to 1.5 inches, and that just, it opens up the possibilities. I really appreciate that. One of the other aspects of comfort, again, is sort of the rear portion of the bike. So we've got the higher volume tires, 27.2 millimeter seat post. You could swap out and do like a seat post suspension, but you really don't need to because the bike has rear suspension. So it is a full suspension bike. And then this one, I don't know quite as much about it. It's not super adjustable. EXA form, I'm guessing you might get 80 millimeters of travel on the rear because that's what we're looking at here. I do kind of measure these. I do like a really hard compression test, and then I try to give you like a realistic estimate of what kind of travel you're going to get. So something like 80 in the rear, that does make this more of a cross-country setup. Even though it's full suspension, I don't quite think it's trail rated. You're just not getting as much travel. So coming back to this rear suspension, you do have like a little valve here. I believe that's an air suspension. You could adjust the air volume, but there's no lockout or other adjustments on this. A little bit more value. That's how they're keeping the price point down on this bike. It is a purpose-built electric bike, and you can see some of these cables being routed through the frame. I love the sloping design, makes it a little bit more approachable for someone who's maybe not super tall, or if you're not like a super skilled rider and you get on unstable terrain, you have to jump off quickly. You don't want to rack yourself here. So I appreciate that. It does only come in one size and only one color, and that's part of their cost savings approach, I'm guessing. You know, the VoltBike does tend to be more of a value price brand. They do offer a comprehensive year-long warranty. And then we look at these pedals. These are some of my favorite Wellgo pedals. Extra wide. They got those fixed pins and everything. And then the Bafang bottom bracket here. So 170 millimeter forged crank arms. and then 48 tooth chain, actually 44 tooth chainring with an alloy guard. It doesn't have a complete guide. You could potentially drop the chain. I haven't had that happening yet, with these ride tests, but I have experienced that on some other bikes in the past. It's something I like to call out. This is a Class 1 electric bike, though. Most of the other bikes in their line are Class 2, and they have a throttle. This one does not, so it's pedal assist only. That means it's going to be allowable on more mountain biking trails. Like, let's say you live in California, a lot of people down there, e-biking around all over the place, and a lot of the trails limit you to Class 1. So I think that was a smart move. They just kept this Class 1. It's probably going to protect the mid-drive motor a little bit better too, because sometimes with a throttle, you could strain it, a little bit more torque application happening. And it's a fairly responsive design. You can see a sensor back here, and there's a little magnet, and then it's measuring pedal torque and pedal cadence. It's very smooth, very quiet. Again, 350 watt, 80 Newton meter torque, and good weight distribution, battery, motor right there. And then we come to the rear swing arm. You can see they're going with Shimano Acera. That's 3 steps up. So in the Shimano line, it's like Tourney, Altus, Acera, Alivio, Dior. So again, kind of a value thing, but a little bit of a step up in terms of what VoltBike offers in their entire line. And then a much nicer cassette. So this is 8 speeds, 11 to 32 teeth. Most of their other e-bikes have 14 to 28. Definitely more of like a neighborhood setup or something, whereas this is getting a little bit more, trail capable, that kind of thing. So this is what the rear of the bike looks like. We do have some extra bosses here, but I don't think it's ideal for adding a rear rack. This isn't exactly like a commuter bike. I have seen like the Thule kind of a rear rack that would connect right here to those seat stays, and it can work for full suspension bikes, which could be kind of fun. Or you can get like a beam rack, but what I found is that those can get knocked side to side, and then your panniers can rub on the tires. So they're not my personal favorite. Here we are on the other side, quick release, same as the front, so it's easy to take the wheels off, and that's what we did. Actually brought the bike over in his car right there and was able to fit it in just by removing the wheels easily. So rear mounted kickstand, I like that positioning. I like that it has a kickstand at all, because so many like mountain bikes, especially full suspension, they just don't. And it's so easy to take that off if you don't want to hear like the bouncing or if it's getting in the way or something. But it's very hard to add an aftermarket kickstand if it doesn't have that tab, that mounting point. So kudos to VoltBike for doing that. This is the other side of the motor that we were looking at earlier. Kind of a plastic casing. Yeah, I think that's in. There's the cables coming through and everything. The final piece is the hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeter rotors. These are Tektro, and you'll notice that it's a lot cleaner up here in the cockpit compared to some of the other Volt bikes, and that's because these don't have motor inhibitors on the brake levers. They really don't need it, because the motor and it's kind of the controller, remember, it's sensing like rear wheel speed, pedal cadence, and pedal torque. It's just so responsive. You don't really need that override like cutoff switch. A lot of their other bikes just have the 12 magnet cadence sensor. It's a little bit more basic, and that's part of the reason this one costs more, is because it's a fancier drive system. We've got some, these are kind of the stitched faux leather grips here, ergonomic, easier to grab onto, and then an adjustable angle stem right here. It's about 70 millimeters tall, a bit of a rise to that, and then we've got 2 spacers below, so these 2 10-millimeter spacers. This is definitely more of an upright position, how the bike's set up right now. You can lean it forward and get a little bit more aggressive, but, for me, this is kind of it's a light mountain bike. You can get out there, you can do it, but definitely keep an eye on that tightness there of that adjustable angle stem, because if you're going over trails a lot, it could start to loosen up and then eventually sort of strip the teeth. Or consider actually replacing that. I think it's like $20, and you could get a rigid stem at the angle that you want versus this fully adjustable stem. Once you get a fixed stem, it's just going to be a little bit sturdier, right? So these are some of the things I'm thinking about. This is really transitioning from like neighborhood, kind of casual, full suspension bike, and they're getting more and more real with these Maxxis tires. The suspension is still kind of basic, but it does make a difference. And for me, I have a sensitive knee, so a lot of times I'll stand up, and I have a sensitive back, so I'm trying to like reduce the impact of the bumps. But then that pressure still goes through my knees if I don't have rear suspension. So I really like setups like this. I mean, I kind of wish there was a little bit more of a commuter setup personally, because I would probably get this just for riding around town. But, you take what you can get. There are solutions, including backpacks and stuff. So coming back to some of what makes this bike unique, I think the battery capacity. you know, almost 700 watt hours. That's awesome. And it does have a little USB port built into the side, but I tested this one and it didn't charge my iPhone, so it might just be 5 volt, 500 milliamp. Thank goodness they have another USB port up here on the display. Right there, right where you want it. Like super convenient. You can mount your phone up here for Strava or just for GPS directions, whatever you want. It's an adjustable, kind of adjustable angle here so you could reduce glare. Look how big that is. Easy to see, pretty easy to interact with. Extra buttons here so you don't have to memorize like a combination to get the lights to turn on. There's a lights button. But being big like this, having that USB, I mean, in some ways it's a little bit more vulnerable. If you actually take this mountain biking and tip, the display sticks up kind of high. So this is what I'm talking about. This is sort of a blended experience, in my opinion. We got that fun little compass bell combination. VoltBike is sort of known for that. And then some of the other parts here. So you get a little, let's see, this is like a multi-tool 2 amp charger from Sands. It's about £1.50. It's the same charger that they include with some of their other e-bikes, and it's okay. I mean, it's going to take you 7-ish hours, depending on how low the battery is, to fully charge it, like empty to full, just because it is sort of a lighter, more kind of standard charger. Some of the other bikes, like I think it's the Yukon 750, that one comes with a 5 amp charger. It's going to charge it a lot faster, but it's a heavier charger. It's like 2.5 pounds. So personally, being able to take a lightweight compact charger along with me, especially when there's no rack and everything, I think that was a decent choice. VoltBike has this comprehensive year-long warranty, and I actually got to visit their headquarters and poke around a little bit. So I want to take you there and show you what it's like.
I do remember last time you came like 2 years ago, right? It has been so much time since then. We purchased that like a brand new warehouse over here.
You purchased this, so this is like your own warehouse.
Yeah, that's our own warehouse. Let's go inside. Yeah.
Let's check this thing out. So I've already actually been in here looking around a little bit, and I met Bianca earlier, and I think you're one of the people would talk to if they called in and had questions or whatever. That's right. We're putting a face with a voice here. I really appreciate it. And George was telling me that you actually bought one of the bikes before you worked here.
Yes, I'm on my 3rd VoltBike now. I'm getting the Bravo. So
getting a Bravo. Okay, yeah. Sweet. Well, so that's one of the ones we're going to cover during this trip. So
I think she's one of our, I think, very first customer. You know, she bought like a VoltBike Metro electrical scooter like 3 years ago. Then she upgraded to VoltBike Elegant and then VoltBike Bravo. You know, finally. So
very cool.
She is basically one of our customers. So she turns out to be our customer service now.
When she keeps coming back, so that's a good sign. And this is Chris, kind of like a product manager, and also you said some support, right?
Correct, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, we provide all kinds of support to our customers on the phone, online, or in person. We offer a year warranty on all the mechanical and electrical.
Hey, Bernie. What's going on here?
I'm just truing up the spokes, putting tension on the spokes. We do every single rim that comes on our bicycles. Everyone is trued up and everyone is tensioned.
This is looking good, and I think that's a real differentiator. George, I don't know if you did this before, because a lot of companies, especially with some of the more affordable bikes, they'll be like made somewhere else and shipped in a box. You unbox them, you true the wheels, you get the cable set up, and then you repackage it so that it's like really fine-tuned.
Exactly. Right? So that's what we do. So basically, the bike basically comes out of the box. We do the spokes, the gears, adjust the brake cables. We make sure that the battery is working. You know.
You actually charge it up and like cycle it?
We charge it up as well. Yeah. We test the motor, and then we pack it back in a box. Extra heavy box, you know, one of those boxes. We put like styrofoams inside, like a carton boxes, to make sure it is actually, I mean, basically bulletproof, you know.
Sweet. Sweet. Well, that's good, because you might be, I mean, like, look, a lot of people don't have a nice bike stand like this, and you might not have this. This is a spoke wrench right here. You might not have the nice tools or that experience that these guys do. Is this Yavor? Is that right?
Yes.
Rad, dude. I met this guy earlier, and we were chatting a little bit, just like checking out some of the different models, and I think this is the Bravo. This is the one that Bianco is going to get, maybe, right?
Absolutely.
Is this a popular one?
It is. It is.
I'm going to hop back out to the review. Just kind of fun to show behind the scenes. I get the privilege of riding these bikes when they're built and they're all set up kind of professionally by the team. But it sounds like more than a lot of the other online direct companies, you're kind of going to get that experience too. Apparently, all you have to do is kind of twist the handlebar, install the pedals, and the pedals do have like a left and a right sticker on them or whatever, so it should be pretty clear. There's instructions in the bio. Am I getting this right, Bernie?
You are, yes.
Okay, I think that's about it, you guys. I'll see you back out there. Okay, guys, I wanted to show you this battery pack, the way that it works here. Go ahead and insert the keys like this. There we go. It's brand new, so it's a little sticky. And then pull this off. They are using Panasonic cells, so really high quality stuff. As we were saying before, 48 volts, 14.5 amp hours. That's huge. And that's a really high capacity battery pack. 8.9 pounds. It does have that little handle on the side. So one of the best things to do if you have an electric bike is just to keep an eye on that battery. Make sure it's charged at least halfway if you aren't using it, so that the cells aren't getting fully discharged. It can be kind of hard on the chemistry. Lithium ion is known for being lightweight, very reliable, and keep it from getting super cold, like with the snowy days here, or super hot. You just want to keep it at that kind of room temperature if you can, to fully extend that lifespan. There we go. We kind of line it up, and then maybe I need to... So I'm actually having to twist that key a little bit to get it to fully seat. So there we go. Good setup, good weight distribution right there. No room for bottle cage bosses, which is something that a lot of full suspension bikes sort of forego, unless it's a really fancy one where they like build the battery into the frame. To boot the bike up, we just hold this power button for a couple seconds. You can see there's lots of readouts there, and they're gone now, but some of them that disappeared were like a little USB icon. So when you plug in, and I did test my iPhone with this, and it did charge it, so it must be a full amp of power output. We've got a 10-tick battery infographic, very nice, and then there's the headlight button, so you hold that for a few seconds. And there we go, the light icon comes on. Speed, it's in kilometers per hour right now, but I'll show you how to change that. Trip distance is the default, but if we press this I button, we cycle through, and we've got some other readouts like total distance, max speed, average speed, range. So this is actually very unique. None of the other Volt bikes have this. It gives you an approximation based on the level of assist you're in and how you've been riding. The default is assist level 1. So 107 kilometers is what it's estimating. If we press the plus button and we go up to level 5, it drops way down to 47 kilometers. So you can really tell like it's putting out a whole lot more energy at that highest level of assist. And you can even turn it off, all the way off, in which case this just gives you some feedback about how fast you're going and lets you run those integrated lights, which is very nice. There's the headlight right there. It is mounted to the arch on the suspension fork, so it might bounce a little bit, and that's one of my complaints. It'd be nice if they mounted it up here, maybe on the crown or on your handlebars or something, but then it can get a little crowded. So for me, that's okay. That's a decent solution. Just be careful with those wires and stuff, right? And no rear light. So that's another consideration. If you are using this to commute, maybe you're out doing a little bit of trail riding, but you're riding to the trail, consider getting a light for your helmet or your backpack. And that's one of the other things I wanted to mention. This helmet here, the reason I'm wearing a different one is because they include a helmet with all their bikes for free. They just toss it in. This thing is like DOT approved. It's sort of like a motorcycle helmet. And I think that's cool. Definitely emphasis on safety. So let's see, if we come back here, we had the plus, the minus, power lights, and then this I button, and that's what's cycling through the readouts. If we double tap the I, it gives you all this other feedback. So you can kind of trip clear, and you can change from kilometers to miles per hour if you want to. Again, 32 kilometer per hour top speed on this one. Backlight brightness, so it's at 3, 4, now we're at 5. It's going to be the brightest possible. Whole bunch of other menus, and they do have the catalog on the website, as well as it's sort of the instruction manual. You can go through and get some feedback about how to get into the nitty-gritty details. I think I'm just going to tighten this up real quick and do a little riding on the street where it's quiet, so you can get an idea of how quiet that motor is. Take it all the way up to the highest level of assist. Really quiet, really smooth. We are climbing right now, also pretty stable with those wider tires, just comfortable. I'm not really set up perfectly here right now. The seat's a little bit low, and this does have kind of a short seat post. It was like 250 millimeters versus 350. Maybe that's a weight savings thing, or maybe I just got a weird seat post with it. This is like the first one that they have. It's 2019 model. was very excited to share some of the upgrades and stuff from before. Here we go. Really nice, smooth, one-handed braking. Definitely appreciating that. Whoa. And being able to go off-road pretty comfortably. Appreciate that. Okay guys, this hasn't exactly been optimized for my weight, so the air pressure in the rear shock is a little bit higher than I'd like, but this should give you a good view, and again, just you can see how responsive the motor is. It winds down a little bit slowly, but it definitely starts quickly, and it feels natural because of those 3 signals. I like just the wider cassette range back there. I also was talking to George about that seat post, and they said they're going to upgrade that so it'll be 350 millimeters long, not 250 like this demo bike. And that's nice because you can always cut it shorter if you want. But for someone like me, I have longer legs. I want to be able to get full leg extension, and this seat post was just barely able to do it. Got like a 31-inch inseam. So yeah, here we go. Again, 350 watts, 80 newton meters of torque. Wow, it's actually feeling very good. You know, this is definitely a value-priced bike, and some of the components are a little more basic, but the drive system works well, and I'm getting the cushion and just the support that I really appreciate as someone who's a little more sensitive. This is really good setup for me with the bars up a little bit higher, the ergonomic grips. Whew, I think I might aim the camera forward a little bit. You can see the front suspension working. Hopefully I won't block it too much with my legs. And we'll just go over some more gravel and snow. Nice. Glad I had the extra traction because it is a little bit slick in some parts. The snow's a little bit crunchy this morning, but I'm cutting right through just because of the weight and force that's going on here. I'm going to go a little bit faster this time, try to max it out. Just give you a view of the motor again. Pretty awesome. Wow. And remember, this is the highest level of assist. It's just so quiet. Boy. I also wanted to mention that this is a bike that I got from VoltBike before, a couple years ago, to do a review, and I think I gave it to Darlington, who's the programmer for EBR. He's one of the guys that helps out, does a great job, and he's held on to it, and it's worked out well for him. I think the paint might have faded a little bit. He parked it outside and stuff, but otherwise just a pretty reliable drive system. And again, this is where I'd love your feedback if you've owned one, and just to hear what your experiences are. Neat to be working with a company in Canada that builds these locally and actually will meet you in person. And I think they do enough assembly here that they're able to say it's made here because they do the unpacking and then all the tune-ups and then repacking, and they just run great right out of the box. Sweet. George, thank you for coming all the way out here and hanging out with me and giving me some insights and all just the tour. The factory tour was a lot of fun, and getting to try all your different bikes. This one's probably my favorite. Do you have a favorite?
My favorite is a VoltBike Yukon. You know, that's our best ever. It's a big bike for my height. It's perfect. I'm a 6'3".
Yeah.
Yukon is a 20-inch frame. That's my personal favorite. That's maybe my second favorite. It's a great with the full suspension and all the updates this year.
Has it been pretty popular? Is that why you
VoltBike?
updated it?
It is pretty popular. Yeah, there is no many full suspension bikes on the market, I believe, and this one, that's the main reason we did that huge update compared to last year.
Okay, well, sweet. Thank you so much. As you guys know, I do all the measurements, like the weight, the height, the width, and everything back at ElectricBikeReview.com. These end up being kind of like in-depth overviews, but I really love to hear from you in terms of reliability or customer support. I love you guys. I really care about this industry and just sustainability in general. So it's very cool to get to spend some time and go deep on this. I'll see you back at Electric Bike Review. Ride safe, have fun. See you next time.